This is Earl Amin with the 2020 Foresight Podcast, where CEOs of small to global companies share their insights. It is 6 questions in 9 minutes because top CEOs know how to listen and be concise. So let's get to it. First of all, welcome. And in just a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. So I am a Christian, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, an educator, and I also happen to be president of Piedmont Community College in North Carolina. We serve Person and Caswell counties. Through these roles, I get to live out my personal mission, and I'm going to read it to you because it's so important to me and it guides everything that I do. I transform communities of which I'm a member to bring about equitable attainment of higher ed, greater levels of economic prosperity, and improved quality of life. I'm a relentless, resourceful, faithful catalyst who leads with the aim of seeing structural changes for community uplift. That is who I am.
Profound. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Tell me, good doctor, what is the best thing about being the president of Piedmont Community College?
So there are two ways to think about this. I always heard this joke that if you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes. And I didn't like the scenery. So it was critical that I get to this point in my life. I love being able to set the agenda, right? Mm-hmm. And to figure out creative ways to solve not only problems that exist within my institution, but that exist within that larger ecosystem. I get to, we get to decide, but I get to drive that agenda. And that is the absolute best part about being the CEO.
Indeed, well said. So I'm sure that in the course of your career that you've heard from other leaders, CEOs, presidents of other colleges, that leading the team can, and being able to see what lies ahead can be a challenge. What are your thoughts?
They're exactly right. And leading teams are challenging under the best of conditions. But if you recognize that there is a consistent process, no matter what the team is, teams always go through those 4 stages. And it's our responsibility as leaders to keep teams, once they've gone through that norming, storming, transforming, and performing stages, to keep them at that high performing stage. That's our responsibility. But no matter where you are, teams go through that process, right? So that's the most critical thing that you've got to remember. The storming phase, it throws CEOs off a lot of times, but it's a completely normal, expected process of bringing a team together for maximum output. Now, the other part about being able to see around corners, none of us have, I lost my my vision ball, I lost that along the way. And so every day I have a responsibility to stay informed on issues that are going on in our community and then figure out how they apply to the college.
All right. Well, in your journey to reach the status where you are now, carry the responsibility that you do, what piece of insight do you want to share with others in your positions of leadership, CEOs, presidents, all of them?
Three big things. Know your why. Why are you doing this work? And I would argue if the only why that you can answer is for a paycheck, I would submit that that is not sufficient motivation to stay motivated to do any work that is of significance, right? Second thing I would say is whatever it is, you need a system of faith that supports you, that encourages you, that guides you along the way. And so I can't imagine doing this without my own personal system of faith. And then the third thing I would encourage other CEOs to do is make sure you understand the community that you serve. Make sure you understand it from both sides of the equation, your employees, and then those that you actually serve. Take the time, push those assumptions, especially when you're new to an organization, challenge those assumptions, ask for data, go out into the community, see as many things as you can firsthand. Get to know the communities that you serve.
Very good, very good. Well, also along your journey, along your path, what other successful leaders, CEOs, presidents have you met, like yourself, that you'd like to acknowledge or give a shout out to and should be on my podcast?
All right. So this one, she can't be on your podcast because she's no longer living, but I did get a chance to meet Shirley Chisholm. And I fangirled out. She is my absolute shero because she is actually the first African-American who ran for president, not Jesse Jackson. It was Shirley Chisholm in 1968. So that's first. Then I had this wonderful group of colleagues across the state, across the country, who are doing amazing things, leading their colleges. I'm constantly ripping off and duplicating. That's what we call R&D in my world, because why would I reinvent the wheel? Why would I do that? So, I appreciate folks like Dr. Algie Gatewood at Alamance Community College. He's been so generous in sharing some of the things that they've done that are a little ahead of what we're doing here. People like Dr. Lawrence Rouse, who's president over at Pitt Community College, who for decades has kept the focus on our need to do better by minority males, and has really helped us statewide develop a focus on that. And so I have such great respect for him doing that on our behalf. And then one of my peers, we became presidents around the same time. She's one of my neighbors in Vance, Dr. Rachel Desmaris. I love her collaborative spirit, and I love her willingness to speak up for those who don't have a voice. And so I just have tremendous respect for some, and I love you all. So if the other 53 community college presidents see this and I didn't name you by person, I love you just as much, but we are limited on time. So
indeed we are.
I believe I've covered myself there. All right, so I shouldn't be in trouble.
So good, doctor, for the final question, how do you celebrate a win?
You know what? It depends on what the win is. I am so task oriented, and I am so consumed by all that there is to do. I don't often take a lot of time to celebrate, quite frankly. But I dance, I sing. Increasingly, I reward myself with a round of golf, somewhere better than what my local courses are. Even though I love my local courses, but sometimes I'll treat myself and play someplace else a little better. But I also miss the joy of going out to dinner, calling someone or calling some friends and saying, I had a great week, or we just won this project. Let's go all meet for dinner and celebrate. And so I look forward to the time when we can have celebrations like that again.
So say we all. Well, good doctor, it's been a pleasure having you on. How can people find you?
So I'm easy to find. I am the only Senegal, and it's spelled just like the country, in the entire North Carolina Community College system. And so if you'll go to www.piedmontcc.edu, you'll be able to find Piedmont Community College. And we're the one that's in North Carolina. There's also one in Virginia, but you want to focus on the one that's in North Carolina, and that's how you'll find me. Easy to find.
Outstanding. This is Earl Amin with the 2020 Foresight Podcast. For more insights, go to LinkedIn and search for The Gray Owl Company. Doctor, thank you so very, very much.
What a pleasure. Thank you.